The Empire lands. The stars above Earth shimmered unnaturally as the first Zaleth dreadnought breached orbit. It didn't announce itself. It simply arrived. Massive, silent, a jagged spear of black alloy against the upper atmosphere. Moments later, others followed, blotting out satellites and scorching the sky. On board the Imperial Command vessel Varnak's Will, Supreme Strategist Vreltan watched the holographic map of Earth slowly rotate. His dark eyes flicked across the continents as he spoke with detached certainty. Class 4 Deathworld, he mused, tail twitching behind him. Primitive infrastructure, fractured governance, high biodiversity. Unrefined, but salvageable. A junior officer clicked his mandibles. Deathworld classification was contested. Local species is aggressive, but technologically stunted. Vreltan snorted. We've pacified worse. Begin the suppression protocols. Within hours, Earth skies tore open. Pulse waves crippled power grids worldwide. Satellites blinked out. Dropships roared down over New York, Shanghai, Nairobi, Sao Paulo. Communication hubs went dark. Fighter jets scrambled too late. Cities burned before resistance could form. And yet, something stirred. In a Chicago basement, Hacker Lee Tran yanked out a rusted laptop and hardwired it into a backup server. In Alaska, former Marine Sergeant Henry Cross dug up a crate from beneath frozen dirt, ammo sealed since a war no one remembered. In Nairobi, park rangers armed with old rifles and satellite phones began tracking the invaders like poachers. The invasion had begun, but Earth wasn't passive. It never had been. On the Varnak, Vreltan observed the planetary data streams. He saw the population drop, cities fall, and climate patterns shift violently. Hurricanes formed out of season. Ash clouds choked the skies from volcanic eruptions in Indonesia and South America. Seismic activity flared. Earth itself seemed angry. His science officer reported elevated electromagnetic interference in several occupied zones. The biosphere is unusually aggressive, the officer offered, uneasily. Coincidence, Vreltan said. Continue planetary pacification. But pacification wasn't happening. In the Australian outback, a patrol of Zaleth soldiers vanished, found days later torn apart, not by weapons, but by wildlife. In Brazil, jungle humidity corroded their exosuits within hours. In rural China, entire squads went missing in mountain caves. And across the globe, humans began fighting back, not as armies, but as something far more dangerous, survivors. They didn't wait for orders. They didn't beg. They adapted. By the end of the first week, resistance cells were operating on every continent. Homemade jammers blocked alien comms. Salvaged alien rifles were turned on their former owners. Traps were laid in urban ruins and deep forests. The Zaleth had assumed Earth would be another conquest. They hadn't realized Earth itself was the weapon. From the high-orbiting bridge, Vreltan leaned forward and narrowed his gaze at the blue planet below. They were supposed to kneel, he muttered. But Earth did not kneel. It rose. The world that fights back. The Zaleth had fought in gravity wells, acid storms, and cryoplanets. But Earth was different. It didn't just resist them, it rejected them. With every passing day, the invasion slipped further out of their control. Commander Narlock stood knee-deep in mud on the outskirts of what was once Kuala Lumpur. The air was thick with heat and buzzing insects. His armor's filtration system hissed, struggling to compensate. Around him, half his squad lay motionless, their suits compromised by microscopic spores. He activated his comlink. Command, biohazard breaches again. Filters are useless. This planet is. The line crackled, then went dead. Up in orbit, strategist Vreltan sifted through casualty reports. Tropical deployment teams lost to heat stroke and venom. Arctic squads frozen to death after weather systems changed overnight. Coastal patrols drowned by unexpected tsunamis. His scientists were baffled. Earth's climate and biology were chaotic and unpredictable to a statistically absurd degree. It was as if the planet fought back. Meanwhile, humanity was adapting. Deep in the Appalachian Mountains, a former army operative named Maya Tran led a growing resistance cell. She wasn't waiting for government orders. They were gone. What remained was grit, instinct, and the brutality of survival. She crouched beside Luis Ortega, a geologist turned tactician, watching through binoculars as a Zaleth patrol moved through the ravine below. Luis tapped a detonator. A homemade charge, lined with scavenged alien alloy, exploded beneath the squad's hovercraft. The ravine swallowed the wreck in flame and rock. "That's the third strike this week," Luis muttered. "They'll learn," Myers said grimly. "And then we'll teach them something wise." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In the Amazon, tribes guided resistance fighters through terrain even satellites couldn't see. In Iceland, volcanic eruptions, naturally timed or otherwise, buried alien outposts in ash and magma. In Central Africa, lion prides wiped out an entire Zaleth forward unit after human rebels lured them in with pheromone traps. The pattern was clear. Earth's chaos was no accident. It was an advantage, and humans had evolved alongside it for millennia. Back on the Varnak, Vreltan addressed his advisors. "They're using their environment as a weapon," he growled. "No, Tharnak, the Empire's chief xenobiologist, corrected quietly. "The environment is the weapon, and the humans have always been its masters." Vreltan dismissed him, but he couldn't ignore the rising reports. Resistance strikes increasing in frequency, alien morale plummeting, tech malfunctioning in every biome. Earth wasn't a battlefield. It was a crucible. Every storm, every infection, every collapsing cliffside was a reminder. This world had never been tamed, even by its own inhabitants. And now, those inhabitants were fighting with the fury of a planet that refused to be conquered. "Would you like Chapter 3 next?" You said. "Construct Chapter 3 with 500 words and clear, focused narrative." ChatGPT said. "Absolutely. Here's Chapter 3 of A Deathworld Doesn't Kneel. Earth Rose Instead," written with a clear and focused 500-word narrative. Deathworld Rising. 6 weeks into the invasion, the Zaleth Dominion faced a word they hadn't spoken in centuries: attrition. On paper, they still held the skies. Their ships still orbited Earth. But on the ground, the truth was undeniable. Every inch they gained was paid for in blood, machinery, and morale. Earth was eating them alive. The turning point came not from generals, but from guerrillas. In the flooded ruins of Bangkok, a resistance team led by Thai engineer Som Kai Fan used salvaged alien drones to map enemy patrols. His crew, mostly civilians and medics, had never fired a weapon before the invasion. Now, they laid traps using sewer currents, redirecting floodwaters to wash Zaleth squads into submerged electrical zones. Entire battalions disappeared overnight. Their tactics were broadcast through an underground network powered by hand-cranked radios and hijacked orbital satellites. In days, similar ambushes appeared in the slums of Lagos, the jungles of Colombia, and the collapsed metro tunnels beneath Paris. Humanity was learning. Fast. In a forest near Munich, Myatran knelt beside a modified alien weapon, a plasma cannon bolted to a pickup truck frame. Luis Ortega grinned from the driver's seat. "We call her Frankenstein." They rolled it toward a supply depot camouflaged as a Zaleth resource node. With human instincts and alien firepower, they obliterated the enemy position before slipping into the woods. By now, the resistance wasn't just surviving, it was winning. The Zaleth command structure, designed for swift domination, began to fracture. Their ground troops feared night patrols. Officers refused to descend into jungles. Whole units deserted, vanishing into terrain they couldn't understand. On board the Varnak's will, Vreltan paced his command deck, fists clenched. "How can primitives do this?" he barked. Tharnak, the biologist, finally answered without fear. "Because they are not primitives. They are predators, raised on storms, disease, and death. Every corner of this planet trained them to survive what would kill us." Vreltan's silence was telling. Back on Earth, the Resistance launched Operation Gravedigger, a global offensive. Teams in the Andes buried a mountain pass with precision explosives. In the American Southwest, desert tribes used sandstorms to mask their assault on a Zaleth refinery. In Siberia, oil pipelines were rerouted. One spark ignited a firestorm that consumed miles of enemy supply lines. Every region attacked. Every region bled them. In one moment broadcast across the hacked interstellar relay, Maya Tran appeared, dirty, armored in patchwork gear, standing atop a fallen dropship. Her voice was hoarse but clear. "This is Earth. You came expecting surrender. But this is a death world. We don't kneel. We endure. We adapt. We rise." The message echoed across space. And for the first time, on a dozen subjugated worlds, alien species under Dominion control began to whisper of resistance. Earth hadn't just survived the invasion. It had turned the tide. Earth ascends. The last Zalef warship fell over the Pacific in a burning arc of shattered metal, its wreckage scattered like a funeral across the ocean. A storm, unnaturally timed, swallowed the debris. Across the globe, resistance networks went silent for one collective moment. Then, from the ashes of their ruined cities, Earth roared. Victory. But it wasn't triumphalism that gripped the survivors. It was resolve. The Zalef had come to break them. Instead, they had forged something stronger: unity. For the first time in recorded history, humanity stood as one. In Antarctica, the Dominion's last planetary command base was under siege. What had once been an impenetrable fortress carved into the frozen cliffs now trembled under wave after wave of human assault. Maya Tran led the final push, her breath visible in the frigid air as she advanced through a blizzard of ice and gunfire. Inside, Supreme Strategist Vreltan waited, cloaked in the cold and silence. The humans breached the inner chamber with improvised charges, their boots crunching through frost and metal. Vreltan raised his hands, not in surrender, but in disbelief. "You are outmatched," he rasped. "You should have crumbled." Maya didn't answer immediately. She stepped forward, her patched armor glowing faintly with stolen alien tech. Behind her, Luis Ortega carried a human flag, charred, torn, but still flying. "We did crumble," Maya said. "But we're the children of catastrophe. Every time the world tried to kill us, it just taught us how to fight harder." They didn't execute Vreltan. They didn't need to. His defeat was complete, and he would serve a better purpose alive, as a witness. Weeks passed, then months. From repurposed alien cruisers parked in Earth's upper orbit, a new fleet began to form. Not one of conquest, but of defense. Human engineers worked alongside defected alien species who had seen the broadcasts, seen Earth rise, and dared to hope. A council formed, not of nations, but of survivors. They called it the Ash Accord. Its charter was simple. A Earth would never kneel. A Earth would never forget. An Earth would never allow another world to burn alone. In a final scene broadcast across the stars, Maya stood once again, this time aboard a command deck looking down at Earth from orbit. Her hair was gray with stress and ash, her armor scarred. "To any who hear this," she said, "know that this planet, this death world, is not a prize. It is a promise. You can't conquer us. You can only awaken us. And when we rise together." Across the galaxy, oppressed worlds stirred. And deep beneath Earth's surface, her scars began to heal.